Today we are interviewing Vanessa Michelini, IBM Distinguished Engineer, who is passionate about applying cutting-edge technologies to create innovative solutions for the most pressing challenges in healthcare and life sciences. And Vanessa is currently leading an AI solution that analyzes sequences, DNA, and empowers doctors with evidence-based information to create personalized treatments for cases of patients. Vanessa is master inventor, holding several patents and publications. So, Vanessa, welcome, and thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good night. I hope everyone is safe. It's a very interesting time. So thank you for participating.
So before we begin, I would like to remind our participants, of course, that you can post questions in Q&A stream, and we'll pick them up at the end of the Q&A session. So Vanessa, tech pioneers from all over the world are connecting together to fight COVID-19 pandemics, with everybody offering their resources and tools. So my first question would be, where do you see the biggest contribution of IBM to this endeavor? So, Vanessa, tech pioneers from all over the world.
So in IBM, first of all, we're taking care of our employees to protect their health and safety. So, and then the employees can help our clients. Our clients are running the very critical digital operations across the globe. So our clients are hospitals, diagnostic labs, life science companies, financial institutions, governments. It could be, internet, phone providers, retailers, and so on. So it's a huge spectrum of clients here, and that's what we need, to make sure we're taking care of them. So the second part is we're bringing together the right community of experts, clients, researchers, academic institutions, government and healthcare agents, and IBMers. And we're bringing them together to go through this outbreak and do what we do best, using technology to extract and apply data, knowledge, insights, combined with computing power to solve difficult problems. And I'll give you some examples of that. So the first example that I have here is Watson Works. It's a solution that leverages artificial intelligence and integrates several applications and components. And it provides insights, and it's designed to do a few things. It's designed to help the companies to decide when the employees can safely return to work, manage facilities to adhere with all these new protocols that are being defined, help to answer questions from their employees, their clients. It logs entry and exit times that people are going through buildings, so you can actually manage all that density and capacity, and several other things. We have some early results on that. An example is a major university in the US that has over 20,000 users in production now, and they're using the return to work part of this Watson Works with the insights that they were able to collect using this application, very specific to their population and their location, right? They took a decision to start the semester virtual instead of presential, which was the original plan. So that's one example. Another example that I'm very excited about is something called the Digital Health Pass. As the people and the businesses start going back to our new normal, let's say, right? There is a need for us to basically present what's our health status. So we can return to a physical location like a workplace or a school. We can attend a conference. We can board a flight. And this digital health passports are emerging as a technology solution to enable that. And IBM developed a platform called IBM Digital Health Path that's using blockchain and combining dynamic data from multiple data sources. It could be results from lab tests. It could be temperature that was scanned on site, and create this status, this health status. So these different variables and the rules on how to combine them is actually defined by the clients to create this health status. And the beauty of that is that you're protecting all the personal health information, the privacy. So you're not presenting all the details, you're presenting the status. And this can be done using your cell phone. So this is like 2 examples that I would like to show about how we're applying what we do best.
So these are all very impressive and interesting examples. Still, IBM is known for their supercomputers. So how can supercomputing help, and what are the main advantages in comparison with standard lab procedures?
Sure. So the virus infect cells by binding to them using that spike and injecting the genetic material into the hosting cell, right? To understand the biological process that regulates and grow and controls the growth of a virus like the COVID-19, the researchers in wet labs, they need to grow the virus and then see how it reacts as your introduction, all these different variables and pharmacological components, for instance. And the research needs to do that, like simulations and screening to hundreds of thousands of situations or variables at a time. And this is really impossible to do in a manual way, and it would be very time consuming and take a long time if you're using normal computers. So that's when the power of using supercomputing comes. And I'll also give an example on this, because as the pandemic continues to grow in March, right, and we're seeing that is spread around the globe, IBM started a collaboration with the White House, the Department of Energy in the United States, and many others to launch a COVID-19 high-performance computing consortium. So this is to help researchers everywhere to understand the COVID itself and also potential treatments. It's bringing together industry players like IBM, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, academia like MIT or the Swiss National Supercomputing Center, and plus the government federal agencies to tackle those challenges that we're facing. And I took a look at, there is a website that there is a lot of more information there. And I took a look at it yesterday. There is 43 members in the consortium and 81 active projects in progress.
So studying genome and replication processes and proteome of the virus is closely connected to drug development, currently also employing artificial intelligence. So is IBM Watson involved in this process as well?
Yes, yeah. So back to the points that we're saying, focusing what we do best, right? There was other, labs, academic centers that are sequenced the virus. The official name here is the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So they're sequenced the genome of the virus and make this information available to the public. So what IBM did was getting this information and then using our tools to annotate. We annotate 41,000 genomes of those viruses. So you annotate the genes, the proteins, functional domains, and other things related or relevant to this. And this data is available through the IBM Functional Genomics platform, which is a platform that also combines 300 million bacterial and viral sequences and annotated sequence there. We're offering access to this data to support research and try like to identify new targets, etc., to help us to overcome this crisis. And the second point that I want to make is like to help to demonstrate like, you know, how researchers can actually use that. And we're not a pharma or biotech company, so we're trying like to help here, like to demonstrate how to leverage the technology and algorithms models, right, prediction models, like to help here. So our own research organization apply novel AI generative framework that they have been developing the last 2 years, and they identified 3,000 novel molecules that can potentially target the virus, right? There is an open license there that any research can have access to this information and, you know, visualize and interact with these molecules. And you know, this work is just like, again, to demonstrate our vision of how we can accelerate the discovery process applying AI. So you have the AI researchers with the pharmaceutical scientists working together to rapidly, you know, develop the next generation of drugs powered by novel AI tools. So that's how we're doing.
Great. And so in general, supercomputing can globally disrupt standard pipelines for drug development. We already see it happening. So will it eventually do, and will it last in your view?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you look at some data points on the current state of, like, in general, like to bring the average time to bring a molecule to launch, like a new drug, like from beginning to end, is 10 to 12 years, right? In 2018, the average cost of research development to bring like a new drug to the market was over like $2.1 billion. And this is like double from 2010. On the other hand, like, you know, the return of investment is declining. So in 2010 was about 10%, and now it's less than 2%. And the drug discovery part accounts for like 1/3 of all this R&D costs. And the last data point here is that out of 10,000 molecules that initially are screened, only 10 ended up in clinical trials. So using the, you know, supercomputing AIs during this drug discovery stage has the potential to kickstart and to increase productivity in the process and shorten that process, which, you know, means also shortening the cost. And it will help like the whole R&D process. And this is very critical for the industry to continue to progress and be competitive.
So what are the tangible results from employing this state-of-the-art technology to the life sciences research pertaining to the new coronavirus? Okay.
I'll go back to some of examples here. I think that's the best way to illustrate. So I'll use the example of the Department of Energy. So they have been using an IBM supercomputer called Summit. They have already been using that for a while. But as the pandemic started, the researchers in the Department of Energy, they were able to simulate 8,000 drug components in a matter of days. Like, you know, that process that we were talking about, the wet lab. So they were able to process that in a matter of days and model all those different impacts to the COVID infection process. And they narrowed down to 77 small molecules, compounds, you know, from the 8,000 to 77, which could be like medications or natural compounds, and that can potentially help with stopping the infection and, you know, this binding to the hosting cell. So that's, again, you know, how you're applying this technology and seeing the real life results here of how we did that, you know, from weeks or months, like to days. And now obviously there is all the scientific process that still needs like to continue, right, and needs to be complete before obviously a vaccine actually comes to the market.
So, studying the new coronavirus, unprecedented amount of financial and human resources have been allocated to this. And can you see it as a method that brings results with this significant increase in costs, or is there actually a potential to cut on the research expenses going forward?
Right. Yeah, I see all this, investment. I mean, all this money that we're putting in the energy as investments, right? As you know, as a society, as business, we cannot postpone this anymore. I was seeing a cartoon like in the beginning of the pandemic that was saying, who is driving the digital transformation in your company? And the options were, is that the CEO, the CIO, or COVID-19? And I think COVID is actually driving a lot of the, accelerating this digital transformation. And I think this is important, Ladslav, because I was reading a research that was done by Accenture in the end of 2019, and they were measuring the difference, in different companies. They are adopting digital technologies in different ways with different approaches. So the top 10 companies, the leaders, are actually growing revenue at 2 times the rate of the bottom 25%, which are the laggards, right? And the two groups are using different approaches. What we see, for instance, is that the leaders are adopting automation, AI technologies 5 times faster than the laggards. So they actually put in place strategies that gives them the confidence in using the data and the insights that they are extracting with the technology. The same pattern tools, holds the same for other technologies. So that's the reason that I say I think this is like actually necessary investments that we're being forced to do because of the pandemic, let's say, in some ways. But I think it will translate to future savings, revenue growth, and will help, like overall in the big scheme of things, will help like the industries to continue moving to the future.
So now turn it over and let's turn from finances to the people. So are there enough, in your point of view, are there enough human resources to handle such technology investments? And where do you see the biggest career potential and space for development for young people who are entering their colleges or starting their career in the workspace?
Yeah, so I think we currently, and it's been for a while, we continue to have need in resource in the STEM fields, the science, technology, engineer, mathematics, right? In healthcare and life science, from the work that I have been doing in Watson Health, right, I see needs for more like bioinformaticians, genomics experts, data science. In the technical side, on the other hand, there is this broad range of AI techniques. This, we talk AI, but it's actually a spectrum of technologies and techniques that are comprising AI. Could be natural language process, could be machine learning, deep learning, analytics, and also like the normal automation. So all this, are in need for the field. And some of those, I think some of those professions, like even bioinformaticians, almost didn't exist like 20 years ago or 15 years ago. And now we see like this big need with, especially with things like precision medicine, precision oncology, and, happening, right? So that's my take on that.
Great. So Vanessa, do you have any specific thought or final message on IBM, Watson AI, or COVID-19 in this regard for our audience?
Sure. So I think, IBM is a company with 109 years of innovation, and we have a very strong corporate responsibility. I'm very proud of the work that we're doing with COVID-19 when I look at all this. IBM is very good in these situations, when you have these wars or crises or, that natural disasters. We quickly organize, mobilize our workforce, and then we start prioritize the areas that we can have the biggest contributions and impact. And back to my opening remarks, and we're doing what we do best, using technology and applying that to extract data, knowledge, insights, combined with like computing power, and then solve difficult problems. We do have a web page that's the ibm.com/impact/COVID-19 that describe all the work that we're doing and the impact on COVID. I mentioned a few examples here, but there is many other examples there as we continue like to grow and advance and put even like more solutions in place. There are some free of charge resources. For instance, we're giving access to our very extensive patent portfolio for people that's working in trying like to find solutions for COVID. I think we're giving like also free access to products like our IBM clinical development platform, which is used during, for CROs, helps like in the clinical trials part. So we're, there is a myriad of like, information, this website, and that's why I'm so proud about.
So we can see that IBM, being as a huge company as it's known for, covering so many areas, it's an interesting portfolio of where else we can see IBM being present, from the return to work, assistance to companies, to the clinical trials, supercomputing, using AI capabilities in drug development. So Vanessa, thank you very much for your insights. It's been really interesting having you here. And I would like to open up the Q&A session now, because we've got some 7 minutes left. So I would like to encourage the attendees again to pose their questions in chat. And now let me just see if we have anything in here. So there's a question from Daniel Davies, and his question is, can you see Watson for genomics being applied to gene editing?
To gene editing, no. Like the Watson for genomics specifically was to help to classify genetic mutations and then do drug associations, all based on information that's in the literature, right? So that was the idea of this technology, to help like, diagnostic labs, academic centers to apply this and create like reports on this. So that's, I think that's was not the purpose.
Great, so thanks a lot for this one. I can't see any more questions in here, and in case they come, of course, we can handle afterwards. So Vanessa, thank you very much for being with us. It's been a pleasure. Thanks a lot for your time and for all the answers and expertise. And we hope to see you in our future events. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. It was my pleasure, my honor to be here. And thank you, Ladslav. Now you are also an IBMer, so very good to have a colleague here talking about the good work. Thank you, everybody.